So all roads lead to Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban this Saturday. Thousands of people expected to descend there to witness the handing over of the certificate of recognition to AmaZulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. Now, the last coronation was held in 1971, and it was that of his late father, King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu. Our senior reporter, Siphamandla Goge, is in Durban ahead of Saturday's events. Let's get the very latest from him. Sipha, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, please explain to me, is this a coronation? Is this a second part of a coronation? We keep hearing it's a handing over of a certificate, but it's going to be a lavish affair as well. So is it right to say it's a coronation of sorts?
No, that is not correct. It's not a coronation. It's a handover ceremony, a certificate of recognition being handed over to AmaZulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. This is part of a constitutional and what we can call legal requirement here, whereby President Cyril Ramaphosa, as the President of the Republic of South Africa, will have to hand over a certificate of recognition to AmaZulu King. That is required by the legislation. The Khoisan Traditional Leadership Act provides that such a ceremony should be undertaken when there is the issue of succession, a new traditional leader, be it a king or a queen taking over. He or she has to be formally recognized by the South African government. But it doesn't mean that that person will not be on the throne. In this case, AmaZulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini is firmly on the throne. He was coronated on the 20th of August 2022 when he performed that very important ceremony of entering the crown. Now, this one is a constitutional and legislative requirement that has to be undertaken by the government in line with the Khoisan Traditional Leadership Act, simply because kings and queens or traditional leaders are public representatives, so therefore they need to be recognized to be able to draw certain benefits from the state. But it doesn't mean that a king will be coronated by the government. It has never happened before, but what has happened in the past is that previous colonial and apartheid regimes have had to recognize kings of AmaZulu before. It emanates from a practice that started with King Mpande. If you follow history, you would understand that King Mpande is the one who was started to be recognized by the then government after he fought and basically dethroned his brother at the time, King Dingane. Though colonial and apartheid government said, okay, we hereby recognize you as the right king. We will coronate you in line with the Western norms and traditions. But culturally, what will be happening on Saturday has got no significant value in terms of the king being on the throne. But it's a very important ceremony, history in the making, because many people, thousands, will witness a king being given a certificate of recognition, be that as it may, but his family on the throne.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for explaining that. It's fascinating, the history that you're giving us. And I'm looking at that stadium behind you. I would imagine it's going to be absolutely full on Saturday. Today, the AmaZulu traditional Prime Minister, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, gave a briefing. What did he have to say?
Well, basically, he was reflecting on how we got here as a nation, how we got to a point whereby a certificate will be handed over to King Misuzulu, saying it's been a very difficult journey to get here. Remember, with the passing of King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu, followed by the Queen Regent, Queen Mantfombi, King Misuzulu's mother, and the ongoing royal dispute over the throne, something which is not new, by the way. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. But Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the traditional Prime Minister of AmaZulu and to the monarch of the Zulu nation, saying to get here has been very difficult, but there is no doubt that the nation is behind the king. Let's take a listen what he had to say.
The Saturday's ceremony must be seen merely as a unifying South African event. We pray that the reign of His Majesty King Misuzulu will bless not only the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but also all of South Africa. For His Majesty's leadership has the power to foster social justice, to foster peace, and development. What is significant about Saturday's event is that it will allow millions of South Africans as well as international viewers to witness His Majesty's recognition as King of the Zulu Nation by the President and the government of South Africa. I must sound a word of caution. However, we've been told that the Moses Mabhida Stadium can safely hold 48,000 people without any risk of stampedes or any harm. So clearly, many wish to attend this ceremony, but I would say that unless our people feel a particular compulsion, I would like to emphasize that to be there in person for safety's sake, it would be better, in my view, to watch the proceedings on television. Nevertheless, for the thousands of people who will be in attendance, this will be a truly historic moment. For most South Africans, it is one of those once we know in a lifetime.
All right, there was meant to be another presser today by another prince. Did that happen? And has Prince Buthelezi said anything about that?
As far as I understand, that presser by Prince Buzabazi did not take place. It was meant to happen in the afternoon. It did not happen. We are told that it was postponed or cancelled. The reasons that were given, according to my colleague Nqobile Madlala, who was meant to cover that, were related to the issue of quote-unquote security. But there was another press briefing that was organized by the late king's siblings, 3 princes, Prince Mbonisi, Prince Mathubesizwe, Prince Vulindlela. They regard themselves as the core members of the ruling family. They say they are the ones who are members of the Royal Council. They should be seized with the matter of appointing, or rather nominating and appointing the next king of AmaZulu. They say the process of nominating and appointing King Misuzulu was not done properly. Process was not followed according to what culture, tradition and royal protocol dictates. So Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is touching on the issue of the ongoing royal dispute over the throne, saying it's not something new, it has happened in the past, but with time he is hopeful that it will come to pass as there are legal cases, or rather the ongoing legal battle about the throne. Princess Magade, King Goodwill Zwelithini's firstborn son, wanting President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Minister of KwaZulu-Natal Premier, not to recognize King Misuzulu pending the finalization of the ongoing dispute. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is saying it has happened before, it's not new, it will come to pass with time. Let's take a listen.
Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, we've been full of twists and turns. This has been the nature of royal succession, I'm afraid. As you know yourselves, as South African journalists, you know from the very genesis of the Zulu monarchy, these ructions have always been part of it. But throughout the process, however, since His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini passing, I've never doubted for one moment that his rightful and successor would ascend to the throne.
Yeah, it's certainly been quite a journey to get to this point. So Saturday, you've explained it's a legal and constitutional handing over, a recognition from the government. But make no mistake, it's going to be a lavish affair. It's going to be quite remarkable to see. Tell us who's going to be there and what we can expect.
Kings and politicians, traditional leaders from across South Africa, across the African continent. President Cyril Ramaphosa will be leading the ceremony, the government-led aspect of it, whereby he will hand over a certificate of recognition to the king. But there will be high-profile politicians, business people, kings from other parts of the continent. King Mswati III is set to arrive in KwaZulu-Natal and in South Africa. He is all also the uncle to King Misuzulu Zwelithini. The late Queen Mantombi was King Mswati's sister, so those are related, and King Mswati will come here as one of those high-profile guests of the king, but also being the uncle to King Misuzulu, he is like family, and he will be leading a strong delegation from Swaziland, as AmaZulu and Maswati have got strong ties and bonds, but there will be other kings from other parts of South Africa as well within the SADC region and across the continent, and even international guests. So it's a combination of business people, politicians, judges, as well as just, other people who may have interest on coming here to attend on Saturday.
Well, it's going to be an amazing thing to watch. And Sipha, I know that you're part of a fantastic team of reporters and anchors who are going to be bringing us every moment of Saturday's occasion. Thank you so much for bringing us all up to speed. That, of course, is senior reporter Siphamandla Goge coming to us from the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban. Now,